And every Christian in the country, you better understand that if Kamala Harris becomes president, she will nationalize this California law and make it so that the state can kidnap your child under trans-related issues. Kamala Harris seeks to kidnap your child via the trans agenda. Play cut 14.
He's literally saying Kamala Harris wants to trans your kid.
Far-right MAGA pundit Charlie Kirk makes a lot of crazy claims, and this may be one of the craziest ones, and that is that if Kamala Harris is elected president, she will turn your kid trans. She will kidnap your kid and make your child trans. This seems ludicrous, but this is what the right has now. Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk broke all this down. We're going to take a look at clips of Charlie Kirk making these crazy statements and Kyle Kulinski doing his analysis of this, and then I'll give my thoughts as well. Let's check this out.
So as you all know, the right is coping and seething and flailing, and they haven't really settled on a good line of attack against Kamala Harris yet, and that's very obvious. But we do have some right-wing thought leaders in the media and commentary space, and they want you to know it's okay, they figured it out. They got this, so don't worry about it. So Charlie Kirk has a brilliant idea about a strong line of attack against Kamala Harris, and he wants to let everybody in on it. So listen to this.
President Trump then zeroed in on a very, very effective attack vector against Kamala Harris.
Attack vector? You could say he zeroed in on a good attack against Kamala. Why would you say attack vector? These guys are so weird.
Kamala Harris will now have to answer for the idea that teachers in California are not allowed to tell parents when their kids are medically transitioning. So let's pretend you are a 6th grade teacher in Orange County, California, in Huntington Beach, California. You're a 6th grade teacher, and a kid begins to identify as Steve instead of Susie. As a 6th grade teacher in Huntington Beach, California, you are not allowed to call up the parent. You are not allowed to notify the parent. This is pure, unadulterated Marxism. The destruction...
It's Marxism, as Karl Marx wrote in Das Kapital in chapter 6. Trans the kids and don't tell the parents. There's no connection to reality. It's amazing.
The nuclear family as we know it, where parents are no longer even allowed to know that their kids are being called by different names, receiving medical treatments. Kamala Harris is in favor of this. Kamala Harris and her gang of California radicals and mobsters have been pushing for the state to have more power than parents. President Trump exploited this and attacked it. And every Christian in the country, you better understand that if Kamala Harris becomes president, she will nationalize this California law and make it so that the state can kidnap your child under trans-related issues. Kamala Harris seeks to kidnap your child via the trans agenda. Play cut 14.
He's literally saying Kamala Harris wants to trans your kid and take away all of your rights as a parent. She wants the state to steal, confiscate, kidnap your kid, and trans your kid. This is the line of argument they're going with. Okay, at this point, I don't know how anybody could be a Republican. We're beyond the point where it's like, oh, man, well, I could see maybe they have some points on taxes or something. No. We are so far beyond that point. By the way, we just did the numbers on this the other day because Jordan Peterson said trans healthcare is worse than the Nazis. So I went and I looked at the numbers because they make it seem like, oh my God, bro, this is happening all the time, bro. Like 30% of the population's kids are becoming trans, bro. This is the impression they leave you with. This hysterical mindset. Oh, they're coming to trans the kids. They're coming to trans the kids. This is what they leave you with. You ready for this? There are 72,600,000 kids in this country. Minors, people under the age of 18. 72,600,000. You know how many kids have gotten any sort of surgical intervention because of their gender dysphoria? I believe the exact number is 286.
And this is such a brilliant point by Kyle Kulinski. Now, these people like Charlie Kirk and these MAGA Republicans, they're immune to facts. You present these facts to them, and they're going to say, but what about, some other unrelated thing? But normal people, just average Americans, they have no idea what the numbers of these surgeries are that are happening in the United States. And like Kyle Kulinski, and most people probably think it's much higher than this because you have the right wingers constantly screaming about this because they're obsessed with other people's bodies. And like Kyle is pointing out here, it's a tiny, tiny percentage of people in the country who are transitioning or having these surgeries or anything else that goes along with it. So this is not a big deal in our country. But the Republicans like Charlie Kirk have made it a big deal. They're obsessed with this. And like Kyle Kulinski said there, it's laughable for Charlie Kirk to say this is Marxism. What does it have anything to do with Marxism? Everything that they don't like is Marxism, communism, socialism, whatever, anything. And why exactly, first of all, if this plan existed to kidnap kids and turn them trans, if it existed, I don't know what it would have to do with Marxism, but why would Kamala Harris, what would be the purpose of kidnapping people's children and making them trans?
Why are we discussing this non-issue? Even if you say, well, forget that. What about the people taking like either hormones or puberty blockers? The best of my recollection, I think the number for hormones out of 72,600,000 kids in this country, the number taking hormones is about 4,500. They are crying and whining and bitching and moaning about a non-existent problem. And by the way, I don't even buy into their framework that like, this is mutilating the kids and it's bad for them and this and that. No, in these instances where there is some sort of medical intervention, it's overwhelmingly the case. Parents are involved. A therapist or psychologist or psychiatrist is involved. They exhaust every other option. And then finally they land on, okay, hormones or puberty blockers. In the super 0.00001% of times, okay, I guess top surgery maybe, but they don't even do bottom surgery for minors. So this is not like, okay, guys, let me be clear. This is how they lost in 2022. In 2022, somebody crunched the numbers on this. They ran hundreds of anti-trans ads trying to say that Democrats are extreme on the issue of trans healthcare. Mega flop. Floppington McFlopskis just didn't work. Between that and the fear-mongering about crime, remember that? It didn't work. None of it worked. It was supposed to be a red wave. It was a red trickle. They bucked the historical trends by doing uniquely bad. Why? Because this is the open secret. Everybody knows you guys are the extremists. You're the ones still denying the 2020 election. You don't believe in the peaceful transfer of power. You guys are the ones who overturned Roe versus Wade. You took away a right. People don't take that well. When you roll back the clock on rights, when you say Roe v. Wade, gonzo, sorry, done with it, and now you got all these red states, 14 Republican states with a near total abortion ban, and more than that, with very restrictive abortion policies. Yeah, people look at this and they go, you guys are extreme. You guys are crazy. And your counter argument to that is Kamala Harris wants to trans your kid?
And he's so right, Kyle Kulinski is. And this is where the Republicans are weird slogan, or whatever you want to say, that the Harris campaign has come up with, and Tim Walz, is so effective because these guys like Charlie Kirk are weird. If you're saying that Kamala Harris wants to kidnap people's children and turn them trans, normal people don't believe that. Only these wackos that are fans of Charlie Kirk and these other right-wing pundits believe that kind of stuff. And like he's saying there, it's bad policy to be going after abortion. We've seen that. And attacking trans people who, like Kyle Kulinski is pointing out here, are a very, very tiny percentage of the populace. Again, it feeds into their base, but regular people, most Americans don't care about that. Most people are concerned with what happens if I get sick? Am I going to lose my home or go bankrupt, how am I going to pay my rent or my mortgage when they're so high in this country? Am I ever going to be able to buy a house? That's what young people are thinking about. Am I going to be able to retire? Most people aren't sitting around thinking about trans people, who's going in what bathroom, and that the government is going to kidnap their kid and change their gender.
On no planet is that a reasonable argument against Kamala Harris. On no planet. So I don't know what to do with these guys, bro. I do not know what to do with these guys. They're a joke.
I think Kyle Kulinski is exactly right about this. And these statistics should be on news broadcasts all the time. Every time Republicans bring up these things about what the left and what Democrats are supposedly doing to turn people trans, the mainstream media should be giving out these statistics because the average person doesn't know them. I bet most people listening to this or had watched this video or read about this were probably shocked that the number is so low. But like Kyle Kulinski is saying, hey, lean into this, Charlie Kirk and Trump's campaign and all the right-wingers, because this is a losing issue for you. Most Americans do not care about this. But what do you think? Do you agree with Kyle Kulinski here that this is much ado about nothing? Do you agree with Charlie Kirk that this is a huge problem, that if Kamala Harris gets elected, that she's going to kidnap everybody's children? For what purpose? I don't know why exactly she would want to make everybody's kids trans, but that's what he is going with. Make sure to leave me a comment. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. This channel's growing really quickly, but I want it to grow even more so I can put out more content like this. And your likes and subscribes help me to do that. This is Chris on Culture. I'll see you in the next